Now, Joel, that ban is due to end December 17. There's no word yet that it definitely will end. From your discussions with government, how confident are you?
So what we're proposing to the government is a comprehensive set of COVID protocols for cruise ships to begin a measured, phased resumption. So we're certainly not expecting cruising to restart as business as usual on the 17th of December. But what we'd like from government is a commitment to a pathway towards resumption in 2021.
Now, in terms of the reason it obviously did get banned was things such as the Ruby Princess and some other international cruise ships that were having quite disastrous times. How will you ensure that cruise ships are safe for travellers should you be allowed to resume?
So the first thing to remember, of course, is that cruise is neither the cause nor the source of the virus. And we've been using the time over the last months to really do a lot of work with international medical experts, scientists, epidemiologists to understand the virus and to develop a really comprehensive set of COVID protocols. And that includes a commitment to 100% testing of all passengers and crew before they get on the ships, looking at the ventilation systems on board, enhanced sanitation and health measures on board, and all the things that we're getting used to in our day-to-day lives in dealing with COVID. Going back a few months, we probably would never have envisaged that we would have 50,000 people in a football stadium. But with the appropriate social distancing, with the capacity constraints in venues, we believe that we can operate cruise ships safely.
Now, I understand initially it will just be looking at a local travel. Is there also potential with the New Zealand travel bubble, once that gets up and going, to have a look at how cruise ships could just be going between the two countries?
So certainly while the international borders remain closed, it's very much about local cruising for locals, being able to deliver some of the 3.2 million passenger and crew visit days that would normally be delivered to Australian ports and destinations around the country. But then as international bubbles reopen, whether that's the Trans-Tasman bubble with New Zealand or more broadly into the South Pacific, we'd like to see cruising as being part of that.
When international travel is allowed to restart, do you envisage that cruise ships will be on par with planes, or do you think that there will be some lag time before cruise ships will be allowed to take advantage of that?
Look, certainly we're hoping that we can start a local, phased, measured, carefully controlled resumption here in Australia, operating domestic cruises, carrying local passengers. But as the international borders reopen and other jurisdictions get their COVID under control in the same way that we have it here in Australia, we would hope that cruising can resume on a broader fashion.
Now, you've already mentioned that people will have to undertake a test before boarding a cruise ship. We've already seen international airlines say that they would require a vaccine before people are on. Once international travel does come up, will that also be a rule that people will have to, and once we do get a vaccine, will that also be a rule? People have to get that vaccine and get jabbed before they get on?
So a key part of our protocols is that they're very much a living document, and we will continuously work with scientists and epidemiologists and the health authorities to understand the virus. And as the vaccine is rolled out, that will definitely be something that will be considered as part of the ongoing resumption of cruise.
Joel, we understand that generally when you've got people booking for a cruise ship, it's not saying you just book today to go tomorrow. If you don't have an answer yet that whether the ban will stay in place or be lifted come December 17, just how much time do you need to prepare to get ships back on the water?
Well, that's exactly right. So even if the government was to agree to a pathway towards resumption on the 17th of December, when the current suspension ends, it will be a matter of months or even longer to get the ships back up and running. We need to get them crewed. We need to take the crew through the isolation and quarantine requirements to ensure that those ships are completely COVID safe when they arrive in Australia. So we wouldn't see a resumption till into the new year.
Are we expecting like January or a few months into the new year? Because I imagine it's a massive logistical effort as well, particularly looking at things like food supply.
So most of the cruise lines have already cancelled all their cruises through to the end of January at the earliest, apart from some of the smaller cruise lines here in Australia who have already resumed operation. So I would expect that we probably wouldn't see the larger cruise lines return to Australia until at least February, and then on a phased, controlled pathway. The key thing is that there are more than 18,000 jobs around Australia and more than $5 billion in economic impact. Those suppliers that you mentioned, the travel agents, the tour operators. So it's really important that we can get the industry up and running again so that those people can see that economic recovery.
And just finally, given that you will have reduced capacity on those cruise ships, should people be expecting to pay a lot more to go on a cruise in 2021?
No, I think cruise passengers really understand that the health measures are going to be critical to the resumption of cruising. We have the most passionate cruisers in the world here in Australia. We have the highest market penetration for cruise out of any established cruise market. Passengers appreciate the value for money that cruising offers, and I think that value for money will continue, and passengers will continue to book. Our past guests are telling us that they can't wait to cruise again, and they're really keen to get back on ships, and will do what they need to do to be able to stay safe on board cruise ships.
And my apologies, Joel, I just want to go back on that vaccine note. I know you said it would be considered as part of your rules, but should we get a vaccine, do you imagine that the association's approach will be that a vaccine will be mandatory before boarding any cruise ships?
Look, I think we're all waiting to see what the process is of how the vaccine will be rolled out. So that will definitely be part of the ongoing medical considerations in terms of the resumption. So it's probably too early to say definitively of how that will work in the pathway to resumption, but it's definitely going to be a key element of those resumption plans.
Joel Katz, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.